So everyone is kind of in this holding pattern. Greg, to your point of clients being like, oh, perfect home. We don't even know what price we want. It's the same thing with rates. It's like, okay, well, rates aren't going to drop. Here's what actually happens. But people have this perception of rates are going to come down in the future. No idea when, no idea why. They just hear it and then they wait and they base their decisions on this hearsay or this like kind of water cooler talk. So it's very interesting, and I'm every time I am now expecting it. When I talk rates, I'm expecting them to say this. But it's interesting to hear that people have this idea, they have this understanding that rates are going to come down. They just don't know when or why.
You're listening to the Ottawa Real Estate Podcast with your hosts, Paul Stevenson, David Warren, and Greg Campbell. Let's see what's going on in the world of real estate today.
Welcome back to another episode of the Ottawa Real Estate Podcast. I'm Paul Stevenson, and I'm joined as always by my co-hosts, Greg Campbell and David Warren. We've got an exciting episode lined up for you today, filled with the latest updates and insights from the Ottawa real estate market. Before we dive in, a quick reminder to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform and follow us on social media where we have exclusive content. We're always sharing valuable content, tips, and updates that you won't want to miss. And of course, we're here to answer any questions you might have. So don't hesitate to reach out to each and all of us. Each and all of us. I can't speak. I always do really well to like the last 5 seconds and then it just falls apart.
Each and all of us.
Each and all of us. How you guys doing?
Each and every day.
This is what happens. This is what happens. You try to go off the cuff and your cuffs fall off sometimes. That's just how it goes. The cufflinks don't always hold,
Yeah, the cufflinks, the golden cufflinks, the golden handcuffs. I don't know. I'm just thinking of things in my mind now.
Golden handcuffs, yes. How was the long weekend, gentlemen? We're coming back from a 3-day hiatus. We actually are a day late, $1 short, and a few articles short as well, maybe. But how was the long weekend?
It was great for me. It was constant celebrations with my daughter for her birthday on Canada Day. So
10
celebrations,
the double 10. Digits,
double digits, 10. Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, we celebrated birthdays as well. My dad's 75th on Saturday, and Sandra also. Her and my dad share a birthday, so we had a little joint birthday celebration on Saturday as well. So lots of birthdays to celebrate.
You had a graduation last week too.
I'm going back to like 2006.
Oh,
so those people, they were.
Oh, thanks, Greg. I was like, that doesn't sound like Greg. He's not even moving his mouth.
I'm so embarrassed. Go ahead.
Jackson graduated last week from high school, which is absurd, and he actually was awarded a lieutenant governor's award, I guess, for his community involvement with the Boys and Girls Club, or when we went to Africa and did the stuff with Agnes Abali Boys and Girls Club. So that was pretty cool to see, and I think he was really proud of that. Also on the honor roll, an Ontario Scholar. I mean, a lot to be proud of. Very happy. So 2 out of 3 now high school graduates. So feeling good, guys. Feeling like I'm doing something right,
Yeah, that is huge.
Of course.
Very, very impressive.
If there's one thing I'm doing right, it seems to be having kids graduate from high school. So get to check that off my list.
You're 2 for 3 so far.
For sure.
Continuing.
For clarity, the other one's not eligible yet. For clarity.
Yeah, no. Yeah, not quite there. He's getting there. So what are we seeing, gentlemen? I've been hearing a lot of rumors, a lot of murmurs about what's happening in the market, and I'm intrigued to hear what you guys are seeing. From what I'm gathering and the comments that we're seeing on the show, even, people are seemingly saying that a lot of homes are priced too high. Expectations are too high. And the ones that are priced appropriately or maybe even under are selling quickly and with multiple offers.
Yeah.
Are you in agreement, Greg? Is that what you're seeing?
Well, I've now been in 3 multiple offers in the last 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So basically every transaction I did. And that's exactly what we're seeing. And the thing is, keep in mind, these people need to understand that, it's not necessarily a multiple offer where it's going over asking even. It's multiple offers where they might be selling under asking or at asking,
right.
With conditions. So don't think that the multiple offer, don't be afraid of it, thinking that it means that there's 10 people buying, the price is going through the roof, because it's not. It's maybe 2 or 3 people, from what I'm seeing anyways, maybe 2 or 3 interested. and some are just sticking to their guns and saying, no, this is what I feel it's worth, even if it's under. And then, maybe with a quick closing date, if the property's vacant, that's great for the sellers. So there's lots of opportunities for nice strategies as a buyer going in. For sellers, they're, I'm finding that the conversations I'm having now, if pre-listing, I explain to them ahead of time, I say, I want you to understand, if we're listing at this price and we get a couple of offers in the first few days and they're both around asking or just under or just over, that means that your house is priced properly. It doesn't mean that you underpriced it or overpriced it. You're exactly where you're supposed to be, and the buyers are telling you that this is you've done a great job and we like your home at this price. The ones, you just got to be clear about that, because some people think that if you get an offer quickly, that means that you undervalued your home, and that's not the case. It just means you did a great job at preparing it for the market. And it's nice to see that multiple offers happening around the same price. It's like there's not one that's crazy out of reach compared to the others. So yeah, I mean, it's healthy. I was wrong for the numbers of June. I thought we were going to see the most listings ever in the history of recorded listings, and I was incorrect. You heard it here first. I was incorrect, Greg Campbell.
Wait, Greg, are you admitting you were wrong?
Wrong.
Wow.
Wrong. But not too far off from the highest point. So the highest point of listings, all listings combined, was June 2021 for the month of June on record. Still, 2021 was the highest for almost all months on record of listings. So that's also something.
And how far off? How far off were we?
Not far off. I think it's like 30 listings. So it wasn't too far off. And to be fair, we could go into crazy details, but that's for all listings. For certain price points, I believe it was for 500 to 750. It was very close to the same as 2021 for that certain price point. And it was higher than most other years. So I wasn't too far off, but overall, I was wrong. I thought it was going to be much more. I thought there was going to be at least 200 homes extra.
One thing that I'm seeing that's unique, I think, historically, is that the people I'm talking to that are in negotiations, if the property's listed at 750 and, they think it's worth 725, they're not actually offering 725. They're just saying, it's overpriced, and continuing to look instead of actually just putting in an offer at a lower price point, which is very strange, because typically people say, okay, we love this house, but we think it's overvalued, so we're going to make you an offer what we think it's valued at. But that doesn't seem to be happening. People are just, because there's so many options, people are saying, we're just going to find something in our price point. This is like, they're not even thinking the sellers might actually take our offer and get the house we want. We're just going to look for something at 725 or something at 700. And yeah, which is very strange. Usually people are like, you usually see crazy lowball offers like, okay, it's 750, we're going to offer you 700, and then you meet somewhere in the middle. But that doesn't seem to be happening. People are just looking for prices that fit in their budget at list price or just below, and they're sticking in that $5,000-$10,000 range, which I don't think we've ever seen that before. Usually people will at least put in a lowball offer and see where they land,
I had somebody that I was working with, and I thought it was the perfect house. They thought it was the perfect house, but they felt it was overpriced. And I said, well, what's the perfect price for you on this one? They're like, well, I don't really know. And I'm like, but you just said it was the perfect house for you. They're like, well, not at that price. I'm like, it doesn't make sense what you're telling me. I'm like,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Both things can't be true.
So was it the perfect house for you at this price? They're like, well, I'm like, is the perfect house for you at this price? Well, it's the perfect house. And I'm like, so what if we offer 75,000 under asking, less than what they paid for it a few years ago? Can we do that? Absolutely. Let's go for it. Well, we'll think about it. I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, you just told me it's the perfect house for you. I'm like, what's happening? What is happening in your mind right now? And that's, to your point, Paul, that's exactly, I've seen it firsthand. And I was blown away. I didn't make any sense to me. It was they clearly weren't ready to buy, obviously. Right. But the perfect house. Well, maybe another one will come along. Maybe.
Yeah.
I think on our last episode, there was actually quite a few good comments relating to exactly what we're talking about. One saying just in Ottawa, looking for houses. There are multiple offer situations happening on appropriately priced, desirable properties and houses priced slightly below market value. But there are also homes that are inappropriately priced, too high, that are just sitting. Our experience was that things either went right away within 4 to 5 days, at most, or even a few hours, or they sat stagnant in need of a price drop. So this is somebody who's actively shopping in Ottawa. And another one, there's a difference between a market crash and prices generally dropping month by month, which they are in the Ottawa market. Watching House Sigma, a very high percentage of detached homes are selling significantly below asking, with more prices decreasing over time. Someone liking Greg's rant. Always fun to see Greg fired up. Unfortunately, based on the current environment, people have a reference price point and they want the house to return to that, which is affordability to them. But it does not work that way. Keep up the great work. We'll enjoy your insights. That's a surprisingly positive message to us.
That's the 1 out of 10
podcast.
Yeah. But I think, what's interesting to that is, a couple of the people that are actively following the market or shopping, saying exactly what we've been talking about for a long time. And what you just related to is places that are priced appropriately are going quickly. Ones that are priced too high are sitting. Last week, I had 2 clients in multiple offer situations. They got it with a condition of financing, one with a condition of inspection and financing, and the other with inspection. And it was a multiple offer situation. It was just, they settled on basically at list price with those conditions. They just didn't have to sell a property. So I think that's where a lot of the multiple offer situations are coming in, which is people are losing out on by adding that condition of having to sell. People are still winning those. I have clients right now that still have that condition on their place is listed. They have a place tied up. We're coming to the point where it's end of July that they've had to waive their condition and they're closing on that purchase the end of July. And we have to come up with a game plan basically today in that event that there is no sale agreement. But yeah, there are certainly ways in which of tying up properties, putting an offer in, if it is that perfect place, putting an offer where it's below what that asking price is. But yeah, we're kind of, to those people's points, we are seeing different price points, different places going quickly. So regardless of the market of it being record number of listings, people need to be prepared.
I think that's a good point too, Dave, is that that's something that people don't think about in a buyer's market, which we're clearly in currently, or at least, leaning on the side of a buyer's market, is that all of those buyers also need to sell. And when homes are sitting, they don't have the confidence they normally would to actually put in an aggressive offer because they know they still need to list their place, which may sit for 3-4 months. So they can't really be as aggressive on their purchases. Whereas in a seller's market, your place is going to sell in 30 days or 15 days, and you might be paying more for that purchase, but that your place is going to sell. So there's not as much risk involved. Whereas if you buy a place and you still need to list yours, you can't be as aggressive on your offer because that it might take 3-4 months for your place to sell, or you have to, take less than what you want for your place, which then again, you're kind of in a negative position. So I think that factors into it. And I don't think that's talked about enough maybe in a buyer's market, that these things happen, and that does make things sit even longer because of those kind of, those gray areas in between. And most people buying at a higher price point are probably selling their other property and upgrading or what have you. So there is a lot of factors involved that aren't visible at first sight,
I feel like if I was buying, go ahead, Dave.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, you.
No, you.
I wanted to say that I feel if I was buying right now and it was challenging of whether you'd be able to, the concern of being able to buy first and then get the money back from your sale, if things change and the prices drop more, or don't stabilize depending on where you're living, that I would just be prepared to put my stuff in storage and rent for a few months while I was house hunting. You know what I mean? And I know it's easy to say when you have like a mindset of, I don't know, I've been in this business a long time. That's how I would do it if I needed to. But being prepared for something like that, I think it would be a great way to shop. You just kind of uproot for a bit temporarily, and that gives you the freedom to know that you've sold your home at the price that you wanted, and now you can take a little bit more time if you need it. Like if you don't find what you want within 30 days and you're closing in 60 days, and you if you're in storage, you have it all booked, you get a rental for a bit. It's just another option. And that's what when the market was crazy and people were worried about not being able to find a house, or paying too much, I would say go rent for a year. Take your money, rent for a year. You made an extra 150, 200, go rent for a year for like, 30,000 or whatever that would cost. And then when things come down, you can buy. But of course, no one did, and they ended up paying even more than what they made back on the win on their sale. Anyways, that's 2 cents from Greg.
I think too on both these scenarios, and this is for realtors, mortgage brokers, and buyers, is if you're looking at properties and you have your place to sell, make sure you're speaking to your mortgage professional about how do I, or if you're a broker, think about this with your client and position with them. If they do not sell their house, they cannot get bridge financing. You need a firm sale agreement to get bridge financing. So in the event the house does not sell, what is the strategy? Are they able to refinance, pull that equity out, carry that as a rental and use that equity for the purchase of the new property and carry both? You need to pre-qualify based on that scenario. Are you working with a mortgage professional that can look to alternative lenders that can provide private bridge financing? Because there's 2 different types of mortgage agents out there now. Ones that can deal with alternative lenders and ones that cannot. So they have to be a level 2 in order to be able to deal with private lenders or alternative lenders in order to provide bridge financing in a private sense, in the sense that they're going in second position on the house being sold and they're going at 100% loan to value on the price being purchased in the event, something like that. So looking at all different scenarios, not just hoping that there's a sale agreement on the property in time for closing, because really you also need that firm sale agreement to be in place at least a week before closing. Even if that's going to be a rush to get the bridge in place, but that becomes very stressful. So when you're looking at buying and you're thinking about putting that offer, about having to sell your home, make sure you have that strategy in place. Certainly your bank is not going to work with you to have that ability. Mortgage agents do have that ability of looking at alternative solutions. And if you're a mortgage broker, do not set your clients up for failure. Make sure you're looking at all those options when there's a sale needed to be in place.
Good point, Dave.
Great advice.
Go rep.
Are you trying to grow your mortgage business? Centum has the tools and support to help you take your business to the next level. Get access to everything from free unlimited custom marketing to daily direct pay. Find out what your business can do with Centum. Learn more at joincentum.ca.
Are you thinking of buying or selling a residential property? Relationships are at the heart of every real estate transaction. At Geltin Poirier Avocats Lawyers, we love to bring residential buyers, sellers, agents, lenders, mortgage brokers, and the law together to close the deal for you. For an effortless client experience that opens doors, call us at 613-744-4488 or visit our website at geltinpoirierlaw.ca. Let's get to the heart of your deal.
I wanted to tell everybody that, we know this is not just happening. It's happening all across Canada with the prices and people's expectations being diminished, especially from the seller's perspective. I was talking to somebody in Victoria the other day. They're working with clients of mine and they have a house that's been rented for years and they're kind of expecting, they're not too far off, but they're expecting, around 1.2 million. And the listing agent is telling them, maybe 950, with the condition it's been rented for 20 years, there's some work to do and everything. And that's in Victoria. And she just said, yeah, she's like, here right now, they just can't qualify is what she was saying. They need, you need to have $200,000 income for, $1 million home. Plus you need that down payment. And he said people like in Victoria, especially right now, she's like, they just don't have it. She's like, so it's kind of forcing prices down a bit because they're just not here anymore. I thought it was very, very interesting, even if it's in a great neighborhood. And Toronto's down 71%, weakest market ever, according to Better Dwelling. That's what they say. 71% weakest market ever history. Since the Great Depression.
What is down 71%?
The market, sales.
Percentage of sales.
Right.
percentage of sales, down 71%. Yeah,
And inventory continues to rise.
correct.
It's they're now at the highest level reached in May over the past decade, which, while the trend is contrary to the population estimates on growth, it does reflect other similar metrics such as the rising residential and office vacancies.
Everything.
It is certainly, Toronto is an interesting market because, and there's, we always get a lot of comments about Ottawa, speculators in Ottawa. Well, in Toronto, speculation and foreign buyer purchases are huge. Like, they make up on new construction condos. Investors typically make up, and foreign buyers make up 50% of those sales. And that's what gets those developments off the ground. Right now, that's not happening. So there's a lot sitting. There's a lot of people that are just, listing for sure, wanting to get out. I think Toronto is going to be the hardest hit in all of Canada, but I believe it'll be the quickest to rebound as well, because it is such a mecca.
Good comment.
On the topic of vacancies and whatnot, is an interesting Ottawa kind of, I guess, location that everyone goes to and frequents is Trainyards. Ottawa Trainyards shopping plaza has entered receivership. So the owner of that property has defaulted on their $39 million in outstanding loans and has entered receivership. So Manulife has called that mortgage due. They stop making payments. They're not communicating with the banks either. So they've had to send it to the courts to take over possession of that property, which is interesting. Still means that, businesses will continue to operate and everything. It's just that certainly if the banks will be looking to unload that property soon enough to a new buyer. But thought that was interesting. There certainly has been a number of vacancies in that strip plaza. And I think a few businesses that went under that are, sitting vacant still. So I think that probably has a big,
there's still a lot
ripple,
but I mean, every day there's a lot happening.
It says 150. So of the units that fall under this one owner and receivership, it's 150 shops and services that are in there. Yeah. So it's certainly an interesting area to go, to default. There's, quite a few large staples like Walmart, et cetera, in there, Farm Boy, but, certainly within that plaza, the old Farm Boy is still vacant. There's, we're one of those, I think they had a few, right. LD Shop used to have a few stores there. They went bankrupt. There's a number of others. So it's, also the you never know, right? Mismanagement of funds, if those funds were going to prop up another property or other loans and kind of that snowball. But I thought that was interesting. That was in the news yesterday talking about. So we'll see how that's a sign. Yeah. Well, we'll see. I mean, obviously retail has been a hard hit, type of asset class, type of business, but also asset class. And lenders, there's a reason why commercial or lenders don't lend on small commercial or retail plazas. They are very hesitant and they look for a lower loan to value for that reason. It's been the advent of, obviously the Amazons of the world continue to grow, and that obviously puts a huge hit on our local small businesses or even larger businesses, but big employers for areas.
It's funny how everything went back. Like we saw, I guess maybe 10 years ago, Tanger was built and Trainyards was built and all these kind of like outdoor strip malls. I don't know why we went back to that. Like the malls seem to be doing fairly well, the actual retail locations, other than a few that are kind of ghost towns now. But, I was at Bayshore yesterday, packed. Like malls are still packed, indoor malls. I was at Tanger a couple weeks ago, caught in the pouring rain, wondering why the hell they build these outdoor malls. This is kind of defeating
the purpose. In the summer, though. I was there the other day too.
Great in the summer, yeah, not in the rain. But I guess to your point, Dave, like when these things happen, and I mean, we've seen retail take a hit over the last few years, especially during COVID. It's kind of, this is obviously the ripple effect, as we say, with the rate changes and everything takes months to actually present itself. These problems, as most, just like most issues in Canada take a while to present themselves. These are this is kind of a lagging effect of the last couple of years, and these retailers are now, or the owner of these retailers is feeling it. But I'm surprised to hear that it's just one owner that owns the whole plaza, because it's such a huge piece of land in, a prime location in Ottawa. So it's wild to think that that's obviously one group of people that own it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. To be
not a single.
It's one company. There's there's no indication of that it's a single individual. But yeah, no, for sure. But yeah, I mean, it's just something to be aware of. Kind of it. Obviously, it's a big employer for that. Obviously, the businesses continue as normal, but it'll be interesting to see how that pans out, and whether new ownership comes in and what that transpires as, because, it could be a new owner comes in and with those vacant units starts looking to develop residential instead of commercial, or, things of that nature. So we shall see.
What was that, Greg?
We'll see. We'll see what happens. As we do, we like to see what's going on. Ottawa market's strong and healthy, I think, right now. What do you guys are seeing the same thing? I think you're getting a lot of applications in.
Yes, seems super busy. Like, a lot of people shopping again. Like, people are being very, very selective, which is good. It's not a bad thing. Like, this is kind of the ideal, to me, the ideal balanced market. You talk to a client, they shop for a month, they find a place, they close 2 months after that. Like, pretty standard. Like, that to me is a good balanced market. Still seeing a lot of refinances, still seeing a lot of renewals. So, probably only, I can't obviously speak for Dave, but I would say for myself, probably only half of my files right now are purchases. The other half are renewals or refis or, other types of products. So, but still a lot of people buying, like a lot of people pre-approved, a lot of people shopping, a lot of people putting in offers, maybe not winning, or, not coming to the right price that they're looking for, but seems very active. Like, certainly not a stagnant market at all.
It's moving. Things are moving. And I think I'm interested in seeing what happens over the next few weeks, because typically, as we know, summer means a little bit of a slowdown usually, but the spring market kind of never really happened this year. And I know a lot of us are thinking that it's going to roll into summer and we're going to have a pretty busy summer. The feeling that I get right now is that it's going to be a typical summer. It's just the vibe that I'm kind of feeling. Like, I was, end of June, very busy. I was very busy. And now I'm kind of like, the sun's out. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I mean, I have people that I'm working with. I know there's new listings coming up. It's still active. There's calls coming in, but I just don't see it really peaking like some agents specifically are anticipating, that there's going to be a late start to spring. And then what didn't happen for them in spring is going to happen in July and August, because we know, residents of Ottawa like to take some time off in July and August, and kind of gets out of their heads and start back again mid-September. But what do you guys think about that?
I mean, I certainly had a very busy June. July is pretty busy. I would say I'm similar, Paul. I'm probably 50% purchases, others refinances. The refis, though, are because they decided not to sell their current place and we're pulling out equity and they're keeping it as a rental property, at least for the time being, with flexibility in that mortgage on that, when the market kind of changes fully, maybe in a year or two, that they'll then consider selling. But yeah, I think, like, to your point, I think kind of that July, August as an overall will probably be slow still. Kids are out of school. People still, regardless, want to take that time off, and spend that in activities, kids camps, where it may be. So I think to your point, Greg, I don't foresee it being crazy, but that could also mean a push to September is, when the kids are back in school, that September then takes over that, what would have been a spring market. It becomes, a busier fall, right? Because they've
I'm
taken
hoping
that summer off. Yeah.
The September, October, well, the fall has been my busiest time for years until the last year, which was devastating to me. But we'll see. I had something else I wanted to say, completely lost it by that other comment. That's too bad. You're all missing out on what was going on in my mind, because now it's not there anymore. It's very important about the fall market. Paul, you got some numbers there, don't you? You're going to bring that thing up there?
Yeah, I had a chart that I was debating. I was literally just thinking to myself, should I even bring it up this week? But now that you've mentioned it, I will.
Bring it up.
So it's end of Q2 mortgage renewals of Canadian lenders. So it actually shows all of kind of the, I guess, big seven, you could say. So TD, CIBC, Scotia, BMO, Desjardins, National Bank, RBC. So it basically breaks down 6 months, 6 to 12 months, and 1 to 2 years, what percentage of their mortgage business is being renewed. And some of them are, the 1 to 2 years is probably the most shocking. I'll just read those out. So very interesting. If you're listening to this, I would encourage you to go to YouTube and just take a look at this chart. I got it from, this is from wowa.ca. And so this is a total of 1.162 billion in mortgages in Canada. So for TD, 20% of their business is coming up for renewal in the next 1 to 2 years. CIBC, 30%. Scotiabank, 25%. BMO, 22%. Desjardins, 22%. National Bank, 22%. RBC, 25% within the next 1 to 2 years. So at the lowest, it's, almost a quarter of their book is coming up for renewal in the next 1 to 2 years, which means that the majority of those people are going to be renewing into this higher rate environment. So what does that mean for the market? Who fucking knows? But that's the stats. So we'll see what happens. I'm not going to speculate, but those are the numbers. And some of the other numbers that are there, in even in some of them in 6 months, our CIBC has 10% of their book of business coming due in the next 6 months. So before October, this is from May 1st to October 31st. 10%, that's a large amount of business coming due. And all of them are sitting between that kind of 5 to 10% range. So just a lot of mortgages coming up for renewal. A lot of people are going to be seeing their payments probably double or at least increase by 50%. And we're seeing that all the time. People coming up for renewal, and there's some sticker shock when they see that number of the new payment. But as Dave said, when you're dealing with your bank, it's typically, here's the solution, take it or leave it. We do have options. We have options of renewing. We have options of looking at different lenders to see what's available. So it all depends on what's important to that person on renewal, and there are options available. So all to say, speak to Dave and I about your options on renewal, because there are options out there. And, even if it's just negotiating a lower rate on your renewal, it's very important to kind of play the field and see what's available to you, because unlike buying a home, you do have, I guess you have a lot of options when buying a home too, but when you're renewing, there are options to ease some of the burden, especially in a rising rate environment like we're seeing now. And to that point about rising rate environments, my last point, bonds are up again. So we've seen now the 5-year government bond increase week over week for the last 2 weeks. And an article actually that I was reading today from the Canadian Mortgage Trend says Canadian bond yields rebound sharply, sending some mortgage rates higher. So I'll just read this quickly. So after being on a downward path for the past 2 months, Canadian bond yields have reversed course and are once again on the rise. After reaching their lowest point of the year last month, Government of Canada bond yields, which influence fixed mortgage rates, have surged more than 30 points or 0.3%. As of Tuesday, the 5-year Government of Canada bond yield, which moves inversely to bond prices, broke back above 3.6%, a 2-week high. And in the U.S., the 10-year Treasury yield similarly rose to its highest point since mid-June. So there's a lot of factors as to why bond yields are rising. It says, while slowing inflation rates in both Canada and U.S. had helped drive down yields in recent months, several factors are beyond this latest turnaround, experts say. For one, U.S. President Joe Biden's poor performance during last week's presidential debate may be leading investors to anticipate a higher chance of former President Donald Trump winning the November presidential election, which is adding more pressure on treasuries. For a variety of reasons having to do with fiscal policy, tariff policy, and immigration policy, we do believe that a prospective Trump administration 2025 to 2028 will be more inflationary than a Biden administration. So a lot of factors, obviously, and some of them not even in Canada, as we're hearing here in this article. So again, anyone speculating on rates, it's very hard to do so. Even us, obviously, we read these articles, we do these research, and it's still anyone's guess. But the bond yields are up, which to us indicates that typically we're going to see fixed rates creep up a little bit. There's still lenders sitting in the kind of 4.69, 4.74 range for a 5-year fixed, but most lenders are sitting closer to 5. And I would imagine those lower priced 5-year fixed are probably going to creep up in the next week or two if bonds stay where they are. So there's kind of that balance where, when bond yields come down, lenders wait a bit to see if they're going to stay there, and then they'll drop their rates a bit. And the same thing when they go up, they'll wait a bit, see if they're going to stay there and kind of pop rates up. So I would imagine, given that they've kind of stagnated at that point and are even increasing, that we're probably going to see the fixed rates jump up slightly in the next 7 days or so, but who knows?
Since June 18th, it's the bonds are up 33 basis points, so 0.33% since June 18th to today, July 3rd, which is a big jump. So I think to your point, Paul, banks will hold on to see if it comes back down. They don't want to raise their rates. They, obviously they're hurting for business too, and they want to keep it down as much as possible and compress their margins. But, they borrow the money too, and their money is based on those bonds. So they can't leave it compressed forever. So if you have a renewal coming up, if you're purchasing and you don't have a rate lock pre-approval, it's best to lock in your rate. If you have a renewal or a purchase now, you can hold it to 120 days. If you are shopping, get a pre-approval with a rate lock so that, in the event that they do go up, you're protected on that as well.
Yeah. And back to what I was going to say that I forgot about was that rate announcement comes July 24th, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
So again, is this another psychological month where everyone's like, oh, but wait, there was that little surge. The swarm happened after the last one. And now it's like, is everyone waiting? Is it 30 days at a time now that we're going to start seeing? Everyone just goes and then they pause because they know the next announcement's coming up.
It still happens.
And then August is going to be gangbusters. Like, what is this?
Yeah, every rate conversation leads to that. Like when it comes, you go through all your steps and then you get to the point of, okay, let's talk rate. Almost every single client I talk to comments on the Bank of Canada new announcement coming this month. Rates, I've heard rates are going to drop again soon. So everyone is kind of in this holding pattern. Greg, to your point of clients being like, oh, perfect home. We don't even know what price we want. It's the same thing with rates. It's like, okay, well, rates aren't going to drop. Here's what actually happens. But people have this perception of rates are going to come down in the future. No idea when, no idea why. They just hear it and then they wait and they base their decisions on this hearsay or this like kind of water cooler talk. So it's very interesting, and I'm every time I am now expecting it. When I talk rates, I'm expecting them to say this. But it's interesting to hear that people have this idea, they have this understanding that rates are going to come down. They just don't know when or why. So it's out there. The news is out there. But it's again, I don't want to say it's hearsay, but it's not accurate information. They just kind of know of it or know that it might happen, but again, don't know why or how. So speak to your professionals.
Call us.
Guys, no doom and gloom though to end this episode. That's pretty good. We can go into the mood boost with a mild smile on our face.
Half smiles.
Half smiles.
Let's do it.
I got 4 today. I'm up in the game. Number 1, after dinner, my mom asked if I could clear the table. I needed a running start, but I made it.
Gotcha.
Number 2, I found a wooden shoe in my toilet today. It was clogged. Number 3, why shouldn't you write with a broken pencil? Because it's pointless. And last but not least, Greg, you'll like this one. I once wrote a song about a tortilla, but it turned out to be more of a rap. Thank you. I'm here all week.
My wife's laughing over here, and Anna's laughing in the background.
Thanks, Anna.
Those were all pretty good. I'll actually say those were all
pretty good. All of those were pretty good.
Yep.
Yeah.
And apologies to everyone for being a day late, because this is going to come out now Thursday, and typically we're Wednesday, but it's a holiday. It's a holiday. Yeah. We're like garbage, we're just a day late when there's a holiday. That's it. your garbage collection. Oh man. Our commenters will like that, me relating us to the garbage collection. Thank you,
They're
everyone,
not listening by now. What are you talking about?
Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. This is the Ottawa Real Estate Podcast, and we're here every week. And be sure to check us out on all our socials. We do have exclusive content on there. And we're back every Wednesday, 10 a.m. Thanks, as always, for tuning in. Have a great week.
Bye.
for tuning in, everyone. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe because we'd really like that.